Now, that was all your latest news and rumors right out of Seattle, but it is now time to get into a Seahawks off-season recap. I'm going to be breaking down all of the latest additions, all the losses, and everyone that they drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft. So first, let's take a look at who they added. First up, we got Bradley McDougald, Marcus Johnson, Barkevious Mingo, Ed Dickson, and Akeem King. First guy I want to get into talk about is Ed Dickson. The Seahawks reached an agreement with the tight end for $14 million over 3 years, with the first year guaranteed. Dickson played the last 4 years with Carolina, where he had 30 receptions last season for 437 yards, when he also saw more playing time due to injuries to starter Greg Olsen. We know this addition of Dickson comes from the losses of both Jimmy Graham and Luke Wilson, unfortunately, but Dickson gives Seattle another tight end on its roster, joining Nick Vannett and Tyrone Swoops. Now, next group of additions, Maurice Alexander, Jaron Brown, DJ Fluker, Mike Davis, and Marcus Smith. First guy I want to talk about is DJ Fluker. After not seeing any offensive snaps through 3 weeks in 2017 for the New York Giants, Fluker was put into the starting lineup in Week 4 and immediately boosted New York's run game. And we all know that Pete Carroll has been saying all offseason that his primary focus is to improve Seattle's run game. And he seems confident Fluker will be a crucial piece in fixing some of those issues. The Giants had their best rushing game of the year to that point, totaling 91 yards on the ground in a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next guy I want to point out from that list is Davis. He signed a 1-year deal to return to Seattle after taking visits with both the Los Angeles Rams and Detroit Lions. The Seahawks saved themselves $557,000, and considering they only had around $9.9 million in cap space, every cent counts. Davis's 1-year contract is worth $1.35 million and $350,000 in guaranteed money. Davis seems more than ready to be in the mix, especially after ending the season healthier, but will now have to compete with the rookie Rashaad Penny. Moving on to our next group of additions, we've got defensive tackle Tom Johnson, Shamar Stephen, Justin Coleman, Dontae Johnson, and Dion Jordan. Next guy I want to point out is Shamar Stephen. Now, just 1 day after signing Tom Johnson, who was also on that list, the Seahawks went on to sign a 1-year deal with Shamar Stephen, who played the past 4 years with the Minnesota Vikings. Stephen's signing marked the Seahawks' third defensive line signing this free agency. Stephen logged 93 tackles and a sack over the last 4 years in the league, including a career-high 39 tackles during the Vikings' 2016 campaign, where he also started every game. He definitely adds some major D-line help for Seattle. Excited to see how he does this upcoming season. Next guy I want to talk about is Dion Jordan. Now, this was a signing I wasn't too pumped about this offseason, considering he has been a complete bust since being the number 3 overall pick in the 2013 draft. He was suspended the entire 2015 season after violating the NFL's performance-enhancing substance policy on more than one occasion, and missed the 2016 season after undergoing knee surgery. The Seahawks picked him up after the Miami Dolphins released him for a deal worth $640,000 with no guaranteed money. Let's take a look at our next group of additions. We've got kicker Sebastian Janikowski, J.D. McKissic, Quinton Jefferson, and Austin Davis. We also got Joey Hunt, Branden Jackson, and Tyler Ott. Let's now take a look at the players the Seattle Seahawks have lost this offseason. We've got cornerback Richard Sherman, followed by cornerback Jeremy Lane, cornerback DeShawn Shead. Also, we've got Michael Bennett, Trevone Boykin, and Cliff Avril. We'll start with Richard Sherman. Sherman's departure opened up $11 million in salary cap space for the Seahawks, and it wasn't an easy player to move at 30 years old and coming off a ruptured Achilles that forced him to miss the final 7 games of 2017. But we know Sherman's run in Seattle was nothing short of memorable. Next loss I want to talk about is Michael Bennett, which occurred right after Sherman was heading out the door. Bennett was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles along with a 7th-round pick, and in return, they got a 5th-round selection in the draft and wideout Marcus Johnson, which will be a nice addition for the Seahawks offense. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the recap of who the Seattle Seahawks drafted. We've got Rashaad Penny, the running back out of San Diego State, followed by Rasheem Green, the defensive end out of USC, Will Dissly from Washington, Shaquem Griffin, the linebacker out of UCF, reunited with his brother, Trey Flowers, the quarterback out of Oklahoma State, punter from Texas, Michael Dickson, Jamarco Jones, offensive tackle from Ohio State, Jacob Martin, the defensive end from Temple, and Alex Magoo, the quarterback from Florida International University. First guy I want to point out is Rashaad Penny. The Seahawks selected the San Diego State running back in the first round, marking the first time Seattle has used a first-round pick on a running back under John Schneider and Pete Carroll, and just the third time in franchise history, with Kurt Warner and Shaun Alexander being the previous two. Excited to see how this guy does. I know y'all are excited as well. Carroll already mentioned how impressed he was by him at minicamp, so I'm hoping he will be able to do the same thing on game days. Another guy I'm pumped to see is Jamarco Jones, an offensive tackle from Ohio State, who the Seahawks picked up in the 5th round. Last season for the Buckeyes, Jones started all 14 games and earned first-team all-conference honors for the Big Ten champs. Another guy among the rookies who impressed at minicamp. Let's now recap all the Seahawks undrafted free agent signings. We've got a lot of them. First up, Emmanuel Beal, the linebacker out of Oklahoma, Tanner Carew from Oregon, Poona Ford, the defensive tackle from Texas, John Franklin III, the wide receiver from Florida Atlantic University, Marcel Frazier up next, defensive end out of Missouri. Next, we got Albert Havili, Chris Hawkins, Marcus Martin, Jake Owen-Sorgi, Skylar Phillips is next, followed by Jacob Pugh, the linebacker out of Florida State, Caleb Scott, wide receiver from Vanderbilt, Vian Talamaivo, the offensive lineman from USC, Troy Williams, and Eddie Wilson, defensive tackle from Purdue. But before we sign off, I want to know from you guys, go ahead and grade the entire Seattle Seahawks offseason, because I want to know from you. Get your reactions in. If you think it was an A grade, give me a heart. Do you think it was a B grade? Give me a wow face. C, give me a haha. Or if you think it was a D, F grade, go ahead and throw up that like. I'm Jordan Giorgio, and that has been your Seattle Seahawks report. Make sure to go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jordan Giorgio. And while you're at it, make sure to like Seattle Seahawks from Chat Sports so you get a notification every time we go live. But until next time, I'll see ya.